بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه الغر الميامين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لقد رضي الله عن المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة فعلم ما في قلوبهم فأنزل السكينة عليهم وأثابهم فتحا قريبا. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The third with your loudest voices in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The discussion concerning the Shia view of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, is a fundamental discussion in Islamic thought, and a discussion that requires an in-depth examination, for it is a discussion which affects each and every one of our lives. A discussion from which many a lesson may be learnt, and indeed many an example may be derived. And a discussion with a historical basis and a contemporary significance. As we know, the companions of the Prophet occupy a prominent position in Islamic history. As in across all the schools within the religion of Islam, you find the Sahaba of the Prophet are seen as being those who lived alongside the Prophet, those who heard the words of the Prophet, those who heard the messages of the Prophet, those who sat and talked with the Prophet, those who may even have given members of their family away to the Prophet, or indeed those who were related to the Prophet. You find therefore they occupy a prominent position within Islamic history as being those who had been at the forefront of the message of the religion of Islam. Yet you find many schools outside the school of Ahlul Bayt have attacked the school of Ahlul Bayt as seeing that the Shia do not respect the companions of the Prophet at all. You find many times outside of the school of Ahlul Bayt there's an accusation that the Shia have no respect for the companions of the Prophet, that they do not honor the Sahaba of the Prophet, that they say barring a few of the Sahaba, many left the religion of Islam in the way the religion should have been practiced after the Prophet died. And therefore you find that the main accusation concerning the Prophet of God is an accusation of what? The accusation is that we have neglected those who the Prophet loved. They say that the Prophet himself used to say that my companions are like the stars, that you are meant to follow them, that you are guided by them, that you have to honor them. Whereas the Shia are those who do not honor them. As in when we look at our brothers in other schools in Islam, when you see their definition of what is a companion, you find, for example, some of them state, if one person saw the Prophet for an hour, that means he becomes a companion of the Prophet. Others say those who ate with the Prophet automatically become a companion of the Prophet. Those who traveled with the Prophet become companions of the Prophet. In other words, their definition is vague. But the basis of their definition is what? Is that anyone who surrounded the Prophet is to be respected. You find the school of Ahlul Bayt, on the other hand, states what? The school of Ahlul Bayt says, our barometer for the companions of the Prophet is the scales which the Quran have used. The Quran, which scales has the Quran used as our scales for the companions of the Prophet? If the Quran, for example, in some verses says, Muhammadun Rasulullah walladhina ma'ahu ashidda'u ala al-kuffari ruhama'u baynahum, that the Prophet is the Prophet of God, he is the messenger of God, and those who are with him are firm against the disbelievers and they have mercy amongst themselves, then we follow that verse. But then if we see another surah of the Quran or another verse which tells us that amongst you or around you are hypocrites, then we follow that verse. In other words, our barometer within the school of Ahl al-Bayt is what? Is that the Quran is what sets for us our understanding of the companions. The Quran is what sets for us how the companions are. Some verses of the Quran are full of praise for the companions. And other verses of the Quran, no, on the contrary, they highlight the companions may have had other intentions. And that's why you find this issue of the debate of the companions was a major issue in the crystallization of Shia theology. As in the time of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhima, you find that this was a major area of debate between the theologians. That in the time of Imam al-Baqir, the Murji'ah were a sect of Muslims who used to come forward and state what? They used to come forward and state, you cannot put a judgment on the companion of a prophet. The companions of the prophet, only Allah knows what's in their heart. If they act something different outside, at the end only Allah knows what's in their heart. In other words, the position of the Sahaba of Rasulullah was a theological debate in early Islam. You found when schools emerged in the time of Imam al-Baqir and Imam al-Sadiq, schools like the Murji'ah, what you may call in academic literature prototype Sunnis, meaning those Sunnis who decided it's better not to put a judgment on the Sahaba, only Allah knows what is in their heart. Therefore, tonight's analysis is an important one, because many times we are asked the question, why is it that you Shia have no respect for the Sahaba of Rasulullah? Why is it that you don't like any of the Sahaba of Rasulullah? Let's answer this question in a number of stages. Number one, the verse I've quoted at the beginning of the lecture, when Allah says, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. What is this bay'ah under the tree and how important is it in the discussion of the Sahaba? Number two, the verse in Surah 9, verse 100. وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. This verse which says the migrants and the helpers, Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah. How do we reply to those who give us this verse? Number three, those who give us the verse in the Quran, the Prophet Muhammad is the Prophet of God, and those around him are firm against the disbelievers, and they are merciful against them amongst themselves. How do we discuss this verse? Number four, how important is the hadiths in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim about Rasulullah and what happens when he gets to the pool of Kawthar? Number five, and of the utmost importance, how do the early schisms between the Sahaba highlight that not all the Sahaba are on the same level in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Number six, in Rijal Hadith literature, how did Islam reach a level where if a person hated Ali ibn Abi Talib, he was seen as being reliable as a narrator of hadith? And which examples can we see of this? And number seven, which were those companions who stood up against the hatred shown to Amir al-Mu'mineen, both in his lifetime and after his death? Let's examine this and dissect this topic in complete depth. Arguably, the most famous verse used by our brothers in Ahlus Sunnah to prove the greatness of the Sahaba of Rasulullah as a whole is Surah 48, verse 18. The verse which is known as the verse of the pledge under the tree. This verse is known as the verse of Bay'at al-Radwan. You see, this verse, what does it refer to? In the 6th year after Hijrah, Rasulullah had been in Medina for 6 years. While he had been in Medina for 6 years, he sees in his dream that him and his companions are to finally go back to Mecca. As you know, Rasulullah, in the beginning of his message, had to flee Mecca. The Meccans wanted to kill him. As in on the night of Hijrah, he asked Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen to sleep in his bed, because these Meccans wanted to stab him, all of them together on that night. Rasulullah had to leave Mecca and he lived in Medina. He established an Islamic state in Medina. While he established this Islamic state in Medina, you find that he managed to gain momentum amongst him and his Sahaba. Him and his Sahaba, they reached an unbelievable number in Medina. But they hadn't returned to Mecca for a long time. In other words, that Kaaba, which used to be their home, which used to be what used to be the pillar for them of strength, they hadn't seen the Kaaba for many years. They hadn't even performed Umrah until that time. They wanted to return to perform Umrah, but they couldn't. So these Sahaba, what happened to them? You found that these Sahaba were yearning. When are we going to return? When are we going to return? Rasulullah in the 6th year after Hijrah saw a dream. That dream told him to go with the Sahaba where? To go with the Sahaba towards the land of Mecca. They go with the Sahaba towards the land of Mecca to perform the Umrah. Rasulullah gathered his Sahaba. How many of them did he gather? 1,400 of his Sahaba. He gathered them and he said to them that we're going to go towards Mecca, but I don't want us to bring weapons with us. We are going there in peace. Even some of the Sahaba were perplexed that, Ya Rasulullah, we are such a powerful force now, and you want us to go to the Quraysh with peace? These are the people who used to torture us. These are the people who killed some of our best. And now you want us to go to them in peace? Rasulullah replied by saying, no, on the contrary, I want to go towards the land of Mecca, but I don't want us to go in fighting. That's not the way you spread this religion. As in, the beauty of someone who's powerful isn't that they use their power. It's when they can use their power, they hold back their power. You found Rasulullah could have easily used his power. He had a mighty force, but he held back his power. He wanted to go towards the Quraysh in peace, to show them that the image you have of me is not the image which people have constructed. I'm a man who's come here truly as a mercy to mankind. Rasulullah narrates, and the companions narrate, that we went 1,400 of us. As we're approaching Mecca, imagine your home is a place close to your heart. Your home where you were brought up is a place close to your heart. It says from a mile away, as for example, from a period where we can see Mecca, you found that the Quraysh had heard Muhammad and his army are coming to fight. The Quraysh on that day, what did they do? They called one of their most famous generals, Khalid ibn al-Walid. They said to Khalid ibn al-Walid, Khalid, go out to the front line, stop Muhammad at an area by the name of Hudaybiyah. Hudaybiyah was an area between Medina and Mecca. And those of you who've been to Mecca, even as you're getting closer towards Mecca, you see that area of Hudaybiyah. They said, Khalid, go towards them. Khalid ibn al-Walid, when he went towards the Rasulullah, he thought he's going to find Sahaba with many weapons on them who are ready to fight. On the contrary, when he got there, what happened? When he got there, the narrations say to us that when he got there, he realized Muhammad and his soldiers haven't even come to fight. As in, these men, we used to torture them when we were younger. And now they haven't even come here to fight us, even though their army is so strong and full of valor. You found that what happened was Khalid returned. Rasulullah stopped at a place by the name of Hudaybiyah. When he stopped at this place, he noticed that these Meccans were not allowing him to go in. So Rasulullah had recognized that he wants to send an envoy towards these Meccans so that there's a discussion with them as to what his intentions are. His intentions are not to come and kill or to fight. No, his intentions are to spread the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, are to bring peace into the land of Mecca. Who did he send? He knew that he has to send someone who doesn't have any blood on his sword with the people of Mecca, isn't it? As in, I can't send someone whose sword is full of blood. These people will straight away remember, at Badr he did this to us, at Uhud he did this to us. For example, in this occasion he did this to us. So I need to send someone who on the battlefield does not have much blood on his sword. He's been to a battle, but doesn't mean there's blood on his sword. So Rasulullah decided the best person fit for this was Umar ibn al-Khattab. He looked towards Umar ibn al-Khattab. He said to him, Umar, it's better that you go and meet the Meccans because you haven't killed any of them. So it's better that you're the one who goes and meets them. Umar turned around and he said, yes, I haven't killed any of them, but still there's an old rivalry between me and some of the Quraysh, and therefore I cannot go. So Rasulullah turned around and thought, who else has not killed anyone from our Muslims? also may have relations with the Quraysh. So it was Uthman ibn Affan. Uthman ibn Affan was known in the battlefield. Not exactly a type of person you will see at the front of the battle. And at the same time, he was related to a number of people of the Quraysh. Notably Abu Sufyan, as in Uthman bin Affan is from Bani Umayyah, there's a relation between them. Uthman bin Affan went to the Meccans. When he went to the Meccans, for a number of days, there was no reply about Uthman ibn Affan. As in, people thought, what had happened to Uthman? And now the rumor had spread what? Now the rumor that had spread was that Uthman had been killed. As soon as Rasulullah heard that Uthman had been killed, and there was this rumor, this bay'ah of Ridwan took place. What was it? They were by a tree. Rasulullah turned around to his companions and he said, you have heard that Uthman may possibly have been killed. Are you all willing to pledge an allegiance to me under the tree and show your loyalty, that you're willing to die for this religion if we fight, and that you will not run away from the battlefield? Because 3 years earlier at Uhud, some of these had run away. So we wanted to make sure that, are you ready to pledge or no? You found 1,400 of them. The Quran mentions that these people came, they pledged. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah 48 verse 18, what did Allah say? لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. Allah is pleased with the believers who have come to pledge an allegiance to you under the tree. فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. He knows what's in their heart. فَأَنزَلَ السَّكِينَ عَلَيْهِمْ. So he sent down tranquility on them. وَأَثَابَهُمْ فَتْحًا قَرِيبًا. And he has provided for them a victory that is near. The Quran, what did it say? Allah is pleased with those who pledged allegiance under the tree. لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. That's why sometimes you'll hear after the names of the Sahaba, you'll hear رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ. Because they say in the Quran, Allah says, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah is pleased with the mu'mineen. At the same time, Rasulullah got all of this pledge. You found the Quraysh thought, if Muhammad hasn't come here to fight, let's send a few envoys to meet Muhammad and see what his intention is. Who did the Quraysh send? The Quraysh sent Urwa bin Mas'ud al-Thaqafi, the grandfather of Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar, his grandfather, he has two grandfathers from his mom's side, or great-grandfathers, let's say. One is his mom Layla, Ali al-Akbar's mom Layla, is the daughter of Abi Murrah, the son of Urwa, the son of Mas'ud al-Thaqafi. So that's one grandfather. And his mother Layla is the daughter of Layla is the daughter of who? Layla is also the granddaughter of Abu Sufyan. That's why Ali al-Akbar from his mom's side, one of his great-grandfathers is Abu Sufyan, and the other is Urwa bin Mas'ud al-Thaqafi. You find Urwa bin Mas'ud al-Thaqafi, the narrations, what do they say to us? The narrations say to us very clearly that Urwa bin Mas'ud came to Rasulullah, came to meet him. He saw that this man was a man of peace, a man of respect, a man of morals. Urwa returned back to the Quraysh. The Quraysh looked at him. They said to him, what did you think of Muhammad? He said, I've met Najashi, and I've met Kisra, and I've met all the emperors. I have never seen a group of companions with love like the companions of Muhammad. The way when he does wudu, they jump on his water to take the water of his wudu. You find therefore that there was an impression Urwa had, he had given back towards the Quraysh. The Quraysh now recognizing that Rasulullah had what? Now they recognized that Rasulullah had come with a peace mission. Rasulullah's companions all pledged to him. So what happened? When Rasulullah's companions, all of them pledged to him, Rasulullah and the Quraysh came to do a treaty, a peace treaty. What was the treaty called? The Treaty of Hudaybiyah. This Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Sulh al-Hudaybiyah, was signed between Rasulullah and Suhail ibn Amr. It was written by Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen wrote the treaty. Rasulullah said, Ali, write the treaty. Now that we've come in peace, we're both respecting each other. They know I haven't come to fight. They know very clearly I've come to respect them. They want to also respect me with the treaty. Write down, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. At this moment, Suhail looked and he said, what do you mean Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? If we believed in Allah being Rahman and Rahim, there'll be no fight between us today. So Rasulullah said, okay, right, Bismillah, that's it. In the name of Muhammad, the messenger of God. Suhail again said, if we believe Muhammad is Rasulullah, then we're not going to fight you guys. We'll all be in peace. So Rasulullah told Amir al-Mu'mineen, remove Rasulullah. Amir al-Mu'mineen said, Ya Rasulullah, it gives me difficulty to wipe out your title from your name. Rasulullah looked at him and he said, Ali, this sunnah will happen to you one day as well. And it happened in Siffin. When they were doing the treaty in Siffin, when it came to Ali ibn Abi Talib's name, Ali Amir al-Mu'mineen, Amr ibn al-As turned around and said, if we thought you were Amir al-Mu'mineen, we wouldn't be here to fight you at Siffin. Rub out Amir al-Mu'mineen. And that's when Amir al-Mu'mineen remembered that Rasulullah, what happened with him, happened with me as well. They came, they done this peace treaty. The aim of the peace treaty was what? The aim of the peace treaty, there's been 10 years peace between the Meccans and between the Quraysh, as in between Rasulullah and the people of Quraysh. The point being what? The point being that many of our brothers in other schools in Islam, what do they say? They say this is the verse that proves all of the Sahaba are going to heaven. You say why? Say because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. So any Sahabi on that day who gave bay'ah to Rasulullah under the tree, all of them go to heaven. It's interesting, as in this particular conclusion is used until today, that whenever you say, the Quran says there are some Sahaba who are good, some who are hypocrites, they say, no. The Quran in Surah 48 verse 18 said, Allah is pleased with all of those who gave bay'ah to you under the tree. I would ask you, how would you answer someone who says this to you? As in if someone now gave you this verse and said, Allah is pleased with the Sahaba and all of them who gave pledge under the tree, how would you answer someone who says all of the Sahaba on that day are to be revered? There's a number of answers. Number one, amongst those who gave bay'ah on that day were certain Sahaba who later in Islamic history caused a major problem for this particular theory. What do I mean? Number one, amongst the Sahaba on that day who pledged allegiance to Rasulullah was Abdullah ibn Ubay. Abdullah ibn Ubay, many of our brothers in Ahl Sunnah admit that many of the verses on the Munafiqeen was revealed about Abdullah ibn Ubay. In other words, on that day, Abdullah ibn Ubay, yes, he gave bay'ah, but Allah says something beautiful in the verse. لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. He knows what's in their heart. Wallah, why would you need to include, I know what's in their heart? Ya Allah, you don't need to include that. If they're all loyal, when Allah includes the clause, I know what's in their heart, it means there are some who are holding your hand. There are others who don't have the intention of holding your hand. They just want to see how this will all flow with this particular occasion. Abdullah bin Ubay was of those under the tree. If you tell me all the Sahaba under the tree are going to Jannah, does that mean Abdullah bin Ubay goes to Jannah? No, you admit yourself that the verses in Surah Al-Munafiqun, إِذْ جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ قَالُوا نَشْهَدُ أَنَّكَ لَرَسُولَ اللَّهِ. All the verses in Surah Al-Munafiqun, you admit that they were revealed about Abdullah bin Ubay. If Abdullah bin Ubay, because he pledged on the tree, is going to Jannah, then how could you say all the verses about Munafiqun were revealed about him? This is number one. Number two, let me give you a better example than Abdullah bin Ubay on that day. Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani. Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani pledged allegiance to Rasulullah under the tree. You know who Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani is? Who killed Ammar bin Yasir at Siffin? Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani. Killed who? Ammar bin Yasir. This is how the sentence is. This is how the sentence is in hadith literature. Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani radiyallahu anh killed Ammar bin Yasir radiyallahu anh. Honestly. Honestly, this is not something to laugh about, brothers and sisters. This is an academic discussion. I don't like to see the disrespect to other schools in Islam. I'm discussing something academic. Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani radiyallahu anh killed Ammar ibn Yasir radiyallahu anh. Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani on the day of the pledge under the tree, he pledged under the tree. He came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, I pledge to you that you are the Prophet of God and we will fight with you. And do you know what the biggest irony of all of this? Wallah, if you hear this irony, those of you who enjoy hadith, I can show you this hadith. The hadith says, Rasulullah said, Ammar, you will be killed by a group of infidels. Narrated by who? Abu al-Ghadiya al-Juhani. In other words, the man who narrated Rasulullah's hadith that Ammar will be killed by infidels ends up killing Ammar ibn Yasir. That hadith, Ammar, تقتلك الفئة الباغية. Ammar, you will be killed by infidels, was narrated by who? By Abu al-Ghadi al-Juhani. Who killed Ammar ibn Yasir? Abu al-Ghadi al-Juhani. In other words, subhanallah, sometimes in life, you know that verse in the Quran which says they are like the donkeys carrying luggage? You know, we are like donkeys carrying luggage, wallah, sometimes. We carry the luggage of a verse, we don't implement the verse in our own life. We'll quote the verse to everyone in the world, but in our own life, it's like a verse, I'm carrying like a donkey carrying luggage, wallah. I quote it, but I don't implement it. Abu al-Ghadi al-Juhani. Oh people, Ammar, Rasulullah said, Ammar will be killed by infidels. On the day of Siffin, who kills Ammar? Abu al-Ghadi al-Juhani. Subhanallah. So under the tree, who do we have? Abdullah bin Ubay is under the tree. Abu al-Ghadi al-Juhani is under the tree. Muhammad bin Abi Hudayfa and Abdurrahman bin Udais. Muhammad ibn Abi Hudayfa and Abdurrahman bin Udais gave bay'ah under the tree. In the school of our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah, they say the two of the most famous killers of Uthman were who? Muhammad bin Abi Hudayfa and Abdurrahman bin Udais. Hold on. The killers of Uthman radiyallahu anh are the same one who pledged under the tree radiyallahu anhum. Understand? As in those two pledged, Muhammad bin Abi Hudayfa, Abdurrahman bin Udais, were of the 1,400 who this verse said, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِذْ يُبَايِعُونَكَ تَحْتَ الشَّجَرَةِ. But you found that the two of them later in Sunni history are accused of being amongst the killers of Uthman. Now Uthman is going to Jannah, Muhammad bin Abi Hudayfa is going to Jannah, and Abdurrahman bin Udais are going to Jannah even though they killed each other. You therefore found what? Those who came and bought this verse, that this verse shows all the Sahaba are going to Jannah? No, on the contrary. Amongst those who gave bay'ah on that day would be people later who were willing to kill their own fellow Sahaba. Therefore, the first verse which was used against the Shia was what? Surah 48, verse 18. What's the second verse? The second verse normally used against the Shia, Surah 9, verse 100. These verses are vital because these verses are normally used against us. What does this verse say? وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Of the foremost of the migrants and the helpers, Muhajirun, the people of Mecca, Ansar, the people of Medina, of the foremost of the Muhajirin and the Ansar, and those who followed them, Allah is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Allah. You find they say this verse clearly shows you that the Sahaba are all to be respected. You say why? Say Allah says, السابقون من الأولون السابقون الأولون من المهاجرين والأنصار والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. You see, notice the translation of this verse. What does it say? Of the foremost of the migrants and the helpers, Allah is pleased with them, they are pleased with Allah. Yes, but everyone who goes on migration, Allah is pleased with them. You see, if you're saying any muhajir who left Mecca to go to hijrah, either to Africa or to Medina, because you know there's two hijrahs. One group went to Africa, another group went to Medina. If you say the verse says anyone who went on hijrah, Allah loves him, then I'll turn around to you and say there's the hadith which says, إِنَّ الْأَعْمَالِ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, our actions are according to our intentions. So those who migrate, this is the hadith, so those who migrate towards Allah, Allah knows their migration. And those who migrate towards their own desires, Allah knows their intention. Someone may migrate from Mecca towards Medina. Why? Because they've got a business they want to open in Medina. Someone may migrate to Africa. Why? Because they've heard that the palaces of Africa are rich and beautiful. Someone may migrate. Why? Because they know that they want to help Rasulullah. I'll never forget the jihad. You know, when you study jihad, there's a particular discussion. What is the niyyah for you doing jihad? Many alongside Rasulullah went to do jihad to help Rasulullah. There was one who went to do jihad. They called him what? The jihad of the donkey. So what means jihad of the donkey? He said, Ya Rasulullah, listen, I'm coming with you towards the battlefield, not because I want to participate in the battle, but one of the opposition stole my donkey one day. So I'm trying to find him so I can get my donkey back, then I'll go home, inshallah. This person, what's his niyyah? His niyyah isn't that I'm going to fight. I'm going to look for the one who took my donkey. Therefore, this verse, when it says the migrants, they said, look, all the muhajirin, all of the Ansar, Allah is pleased with them. I'll give you an example. Ubaydullah ibn Jahash was married to Habiba, the daughter of Abu Sufyan. He went on the hijrah. According to this verse, Allah is pleased with him because he went on hijrah. Ubaydullah ibn Jahash went with Ja'far al-Tayyar, the brother of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to Abyssinia. Yes? This verse says, لَقَدْ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ. This verse says what? وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. This man went on hijrah to Africa, Ubaydullah bin Jahash, married to the daughter of Abu Sufyan. He's gone to Africa, he's looked at one African Christian woman and he's fallen in love with her. They've said to him, you're a Muslim, you have to stay on the path of Islam. He says, I'm sorry, this lady, I have fallen in love with her and I can't stay away from her. You're married to a new Muslim woman. This Habiba is in the house of Abu Sufyan. She had to leave her father who's a tyrant and she's come towards Islam. I'm sorry, I have to leave. This man left Islam. He's of the Muhajirin. He left Islam to marry a Christian woman because she said, I'll only marry you if you become a Christian. If I take this verse and say every Sahabi who went on Hijrah, Allah is pleased with him, then this man, Allah is pleased with him. This man who left Islam to go to Christianity because he wanted to marry someone, Allah is pleased with him. But further than that, on this verse, Surah 9, 100, you know what's more important? Why do they never quote the next verse? You see, this is where knowledge of the Quran is vital in the school of Ahlul Bayt. Brothers and sisters, in this holy month of Ramadan, build a relationship with the Quran. Get closer to the Quran. Don't neglect the Quran except for Ramadan and Muharram and a couple of other months. Get closer, because when you see Surah 9 verse 100, you'll read it like this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. And you continue till the end of the verse, but then you'll remember, hold on, Surah 9 verse 101. وَمِمَّنْ حَوْلَكُمْ مِنَ الْأَعْرَابِ مُنَافِقُونَ وَمِنْ أَهْلِ الْمَدِينَةِ مَرَجُوا عَلَى النِّفَاقِ لَا تَعْلَمُهُمْ نَحْنُ نَعْلَمُهُمْ سَنُعَذِّبُهُمْ مَرَّتَيْنِ. You know what the next verse says? You've got this great verse, Surah 9 verse 100, where they've told you, Muhajirin, Ansar, all of them going to heaven. Say, excuse me, what's the next verse? And from the Arabs there are hypocrites. And from the people of Medina there are hypocrites. You do not know them, we know them. And we'll punish them double the punishment. Hold on. You've given me Surah 9 verse 100. وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. I said, MashaAllah. And you know, this verse was used by who? You see that Zakir Naik in India, when he tried to praise Yazid ibn Muawiyah, he said what? He said the Quran says, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ. Because you know, Yazid is not counted as a Sahabi. He's born after the era of the Sahaba. So the verse says, the Muhajirun and the Ansar and those who followed them. So he said, therefore Yazid ibn Muawiyah is of those who followed him. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Allah. Yes, but why don't you tell the people the next verse? Why do you stop there in verse 100? The next verse said, but Muhammad, around you from the Arabs there are hypocrites and from the people of Medina there are hypocrites. You don't know them. This line, you don't know them, is vital. Why? Because sometimes people come and they say, Sayyid Ammar, if Rasulullah, these people are all around him like bees around honey, why doesn't he just expel all of them if he knows who the munafiqeen are? Some he knows, others Allah doesn't tell him. The Quran says what? The Quran says, لا تعلمهم نحن نعلمهم. There are some you don't know. We know who they are. سنعذبهم مرتين. They'll get double the punishment. Why? The munafiq gets double the punishment of the kafir. The kafir openly, he tells you, I hate Islam, I'm not a Muslim. The munafiq in front of you, he says Islam. Behind you, he's trying to cause the destruction of Islam. Therefore, that second verse, when someone comes and says to you, the Quran clearly says that you must respect the Sahaba according to Surah 9 verse 100, you say, hold on. We do respect the Sahaba, but the Quran itself gives us a barometer that the next verse says, and there are munafiqun around those who call themselves Sahaba. You need to know, around Muhammad, there are those loyal to him, and there are those who are serious hypocrites. And that's why you find Rasulullah confirms this in a quite beautiful hadith. Where? In Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. I want all of you to go and research this hadith tonight, brothers and sisters. This hadith is the clearest hadith that after Rasulullah died, there were Sahaba who went against the message of Rasulullah. You see, when I want to praise someone, I don't just praise him as to how he lived with Rasulullah. I want to see how did he live after Rasulullah as well. Did he honor the message of Rasulullah? Did he honor the teachings of Rasulullah? in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. There is a clear hadith. What does this clear hadith say in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim? It says that Rasulullah says, when I get to the pool of Kawthar, when I get to that pool of Kawthar, I will see my Sahaba going one way and I'm going another. And I'll say to Jibreel, where are my Sahaba going? And he will say to me, Ya Rasulullah, you do not know what they did after you. In Bukhari and Muslim, as in two of the major canonical works in the books of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, read the hadith. As in when someone comes to tell me, you as a Shia, why don't you respect the Sahaba? I'm like, Habibi, look in the Quran and look in the hadith. In the Quran, Allah, in the same way He praises the Sahaba, He gives you a whole chapter called Al-Munafiqun. And in the hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying the Prophet Muhammad is surprised. Where are they going, Jibreel? He said, you do not know what they did after you. You don't know what they innovated after you. In other words, in Bukhari and Muslim, if one of your Sunni friends asks you, brother, where do you prove your ideology by the Sahaba? Say, look in Bukhari and Muslim, not all the Sahaba remained loyal to the message of Rasulullah. And that's why a fundamental point for all of you to understand. Those who say to you, every Sahabi goes to Jannah, reply back to them by saying to them, hold on. If every Sahabi goes to Jannah, can you please explain to me, in the first, how many years? In the first 30 years after Rasulullah died, why are there so many feuds between different Sahaba? You see, imagine all of us here in this mosque today, all of us at Masjid Ali today, all of us, imagine someone says, all of these guys are going to Jannah. So inshallah, all of us are going to Jannah. Within about 30 years, I've had a fight with him, he's had a fight with him, he's had a fight with him. This one's actually not just had a fight, he's actually gone and beheaded him. The other one's poisoned him. And then when people read about us, they're like, Subhanallah, all of them will go to Jannah. You'll turn around, you'll be like, oh my God, what type of Jannah is this we're going to go to? As in, if all these enemies are all going to go towards Jannah, what is this Jannah we're going to go to? As in, the Quran gave us a mizan, scales. The Quran said there are those who adhere to the message of the Prophet, and then there are those whose behavior shows they left the principles of the Prophet. Someone says, what do you mean? Let me show you the following examples of Sahaba, who, if you go to the mosques of Ahlul Sunnah today, next to their name you'll hear, radiyallahu anhum, may Allah be pleased with them, may Allah be pleased with them. But when you read their lives, you'll realize the two hated each other. Hated each other. Let me give you a couple of examples. You find amongst the examples, Fatima al-Zahra and Abu Bakr. Today, if you go anywhere in the mosque of Ahlul Sunnah, they say Fatima al-Zahra radiyallahu anha, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anha. You say that means these two must have been very close with each other. As in, may Allah be pleased with him, may Allah be pleased with her. They would have been best friends, no one disliked each other. I go to my brothers in Ahlul Sunnah and Sahih al-Bukhari, the hadith is clear. Fatima died angry with Abu Bakr. And she did not want him to attend the funeral arrangements. How therefore can I have respect for a person who angers the daughter of Rasulullah? As in, when someone tells me, you as a Shia, why don't you have reverence for this personality? I reply, if this personality angers the daughter of Rasulullah, the Quran told me to love the daughter of Rasulullah. How can I have reverence for someone who Bukhari admits? Bukhari gives the hadith, Fatima is a part of me. Whoever angers her, angers me. The next hadith says, Fatima died angry with Abu Bakr. In the same Bukhari. In the book of Ahlul Sunnah, Fatima al-Zahra died angry with Abu Bakr. Here, can I say both are going radiyallahu anhum? That's one example. Let me give you a second example. Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anh. Abu Dharr al-Ghafari radiyallahu anh. Uthman ibn Affan, how did he die? They exiled him to a desert to die alone. Him and his daughter, in a desert alone, dead. You know what their food was? The weeds that grow out of the sand in the deserts. The Abu Dharr who Rasulullah used to say, if you want to see the taqwa of Prophet Isa, look at Abu Dharr al-Ghafari. The Abu Dharr who Rasulullah used to say that Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, in truthfulness, no one comes near his tongue. The Abu Dharr who every brother in Ahlul Sunnah, every brother in Ahlul Sunnah in the world today, if you go to them, you say, brother, do you respect Abu Dharr? Say, yes, mashallah. Brother, do you know what Uthman did to Abu Dharr? Say, what do you mean what Uthman did? You see, the problem is when we don't read our books as Muslims. Shia don't read their books. Sunnis don't read their books. There's no point hiding. The Shia don't read their books, and the Sunni doesn't read his book. If the Sunni was to read his book, what would he find? He'd find very clearly what's written. He would find very clearly what's written is that Uthman ibn Affan and Abu Dhar al-Ghafari had a major problem. Abu Dhar would speak out against Uthman. You know why he'd speak out? He'd say, these people, Walid ibn Uqba, Samar ibn Jundub, Hakim ibn al-As, Hakam ibn al-As, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, all of these who Rasulullah gave la'na on. Rasulullah said these are the worst of people. Uthman brought them back. Why? Because they're all his cousins and they're all his relatives. Abu Dhar came to Uthman and said, Uthman, what is this nepotism? All of Bani Umayyah you bring back into the Islamic State? This is unacceptable. These people are hoarding the wealth of the Muslims. What do you find is narrated? صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. What you find is clearly narrated. What's narrated very clearly is that Abu Dhar al-Ghafari spoke out against Uthman. Uthman, what did he do? Uthman then all of a sudden exiled who? Abu Dhar. Exiled him to live where? With Muawiyah. Muawiyah, what did Muawiyah do? Muawiyah used to say, okay, leave this Abu Dhar near me, no problem. Every morning, Abu Dhar standing outside Muawiyah's palace. Surah 9, verse 34 and 35. Those who hoard the gold and the silver. Those who hoard the gold and the silver. Muawiyah wrote to Abu Dhar, to Uthman, and said, listen, take this guy back. He's giving me a headache. Every morning, he's quoting these verses about the way I'm building my palaces. Uthman took him back. He then exiled him where? Into the Rabada. The Rabada is a desert near Medina. He exiled him to live there alone until he dies of starvation. Now tell me, Uthman radiyallahu anh, Abu Dhar, both radiyallahu anhum, the one who puts you in exile, the one who leaves you to die in a desert, both radiyallahu, Allah is pleased with both. As in, ya brother in Islam, isn't there meant to be a scale which I use my head? Don't I have to reflect on early Islamic history? Let me give you another example. Talha radiyallahu anh, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anh. Battle of Jamal. Battle of Jamal. As in, the Battle of Jamal exposed everything about this concept of the Sahaba. Everything about the concept of the Sahaba, all of them being pure, was exposed where? In the Battle of Jamal. I have Talha, who's one of the 10 going to Jannah. Isn't it? Our brothers have a hadith that there are 10 who are promised Jannah. Ali ibn Abi Talib, one of the 10 going to Jannah. So now we have, in a battle, in one battle, 2 of the 10 people who Allah has promised Jannah fighting each other with a sword. As long as, which Jannah is this? Which Jannah is this we've created? The Imam Ali comes to Talha at the beginning of the battle. He says to him, Talha, weren't we companions alongside Rasulullah? Talha, didn't we build Islam in its early days? He replied to him, but you know who the killers are of Uthman, and therefore we're going to fight you. How can I come on the Battle of Jamal? I as a Muslim now, if I love all the Sahaba, when I come on the day of Jamal, I see Talha radiallahu anh, Ali radiallahu anh. Where's my scales? Where's my barometer? Aren't I meant to have scales of justice? As in, what do I say? Both of them are going towards Jannah. Uthman and Abu Dhar, Talha and Ali, Fatima and Abu Bakr. Surely I have to make scales of justice when it comes to that battle. And that's why Amir al-Mu'mineen summarized it. When they said to him, you are on one side, Talha is on another. He said, don't look at the personalities, then look at the truth. First look at the truth and then judge the personalities. Isn't it? Look on one side. I, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Rasulullah said, I'm the gate to the city of knowledge. I am with the truth and the truth is with me. You therefore, what did you find? We in the school of Ahlul Bayt, we love the Sahaba of Rasulullah who remained loyal to the message of Rasulullah. Wallah, I would be honored to touch the dust Salman walked on. I'd be honored to touch the dust Abu Dhar walked on. I'd be honored to touch the dust Miqdad walked on. I'd be honored to touch the dust Ammar bin Yasir walked on. I'd be honored to touch the dust Jabir bin Abdullah al-Ansari walked on. I'd be honored to touch the dust Hudayfa al-Yaman walked on. I'd be honored to touch the dust of these Sahaba. Imam Zain al-Abidin al-Sahifa al-Sajjadiyah has a dua called the dua for the Sahaba of Rasulullah. If I didn't like the Sahaba of Rasulullah, would Imam Zain al-Abidin have a dua called the dua for the Sahaba of Rasulullah? But we have scales. We have scales which the Quran sets. That there are certain Sahaba Allah has praised and there are others He has called munafiqun. In the same way the Quran has made a differentiation, why shouldn't I make that differentiation as well? Therefore, what do you find? You find the differentiation was clear. The Shia did not want to dislike someone. On the contrary, the Shia said anyone who remained to the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. As in when Rasulullah says, I leave behind for you 2 weighty things, the Quran and my Ahlul Bayt, anyone who remained loyal to them we remain loyal to them. And you know what the irony is in Islamic history? They say, you the Shia don't respect the Sahaba. Subhanallah, we don't respect the Sahaba. The one who is called in Rijal literature thiqa, while he curses Ali ibn Abi Talib, is the one who respects the Sahaba. Someone says, what do you mean? I'll give you some names. I want you to go and research them if you can tonight. These are the names of narrators of hadith in Ahlul Sunnah. They're narrators of hadith, who next to their name it's written trustworthy, while he hates Ali. Trustworthy while he hates Ali. I disrespect the Sahaba. So where's your love for Ali ibn Abi Talib gone? I thought we all love Ali, isn't it? This is what I always hear. All of us love Ali. Let me give you a few names. Abdul Rahman. Go read Abdul Rahman ibn Shaqiq. Read him in Rijal literature. When you get to Ayn, in the biographies of the narrators, when you get to Ayn in the Arabic language, read Abdul Rahman ibn Shaqiq. It says Abdul Rahman bin Shaqiq used to hate Ali ibn Abi Talib, but he is a trustworthy narrator of hadith. You can take his hadiths. Hold on, a person who hates Ali ibn Abi Talib, but I can take his hadiths? Not just stop there, don't stop there. Go to Maymun ibn Mahran. Maymun ibn Mahran, next to his name, what's written? Hates Ali ibn Abi Talib with a vengeance, but his hadiths are strong. Go even further, I can show you more and more. Khalid ibn Muslim al-Makhzumi. Khalid ibn Muslim al-Makhzumi says, hates and despises Ali ibn Abi Talib, but very good narrator of hadith. Let me give you another one. Imran ibn Hattan. You know Imran ibn Hattan is the famous man who said the strike of Ibn Muljam was a strike of a man of taqwa. Bukhari, Imam al-Bukhari narrates from Imran ibn Hattan. Some of his hadiths, Imran ibn Hattan narrates. Imran ibn Hattan, it says next to his name, hated Ali ibn Abi Talib, but very reliable. But you know what's the most ironic? Wallah, this is when I gave up on Islamic history. All of these I can understand. Khawarij, fights, and so on. You know when I gave up? When I came one day in my research, I thought to myself, let me see what is said next to Umar bin Sa'ad. Umar bin Sa'ad, killer of Hussein bin Ali, but reliable in hadith. Next to his name, in hadith literature, it says, killer of Hussein bin Ali, but reliable in hadith. You see, when I say these things, I'm not trying to attack my Sunni brother, because there are many of my Sunni brothers who, if they read this, they would be angry. True? There are many of my Sunni brothers, if they read this, they would be angry. All I'm trying to say is, look in hadith literature and you'll realize, Ali ibn Abi Talib, the man who's a Sahabi, you tell me, I don't like the Sahaba, then where is the love for Amir al-Mu'mineen? That's why I'll never forget Janeed ibn Abdul Rahman. Janeed ibn Abdul Rahman was from the town of Haran. Janeed ibn Abdul Rahman was living in the time of the Bani Umayyah Khalifa, Hisham bin Abdul Malik. Janeed ibn Abdul Rahman used to go and collect a certain amount of pension from the treasury of Hisham bin Abdul Malik in Sham. He narrates that one day I was going there to collect my pension. It was a Friday. I thought to myself, today is a Friday, Salat al-Jum'ah, let me go and pray Jum'ah. And then I go and see Hisham bin Abdul Malik. And remember, for someone to see Hisham bin Abdul Malik and collect his pension, this person must be of the aristocratic class, isn't it? Janeed bin Abdul Rahman narrates that I went to the Jum'ah prayer. I'm listening to the khutbah, and the man, mashallah, his khutbah is beautiful. He's giving lovely pieces of advice, honorable words. Then all of a sudden, he ended the khutbah. He said, may we all end the khutbah with our curses on Abu Turab. He said, I was sitting, I thought to myself, I didn't hear this properly. Sorry, repeat again, what did you say? He said, may we all end this with the cursing of Abu Turab. When he finished the khutbah, he said, I went to him, I said, excuse me, what did you just say? You said the cursing of who? He said, Abu Turab. He said, which Abu Turab? He said, which other than Abu Turab? Ali bin Abi Talib. We end the Friday khutbah by cursing Ali bin Abi Talib. That is a way of getting thawab from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This Janeed said, I went to Hisham bin Abdul Malik, I'm on good terms with the king. I entered, as soon as I entered, he looked at me and said, oh, Abu Abdul Rahman, how are you? Welcome. He said, Hisham? I said, yes, what is it? He said, why have they brought me here? He said, well, I heard you had a bit of a skirmish in the mosque. He said, yes, I did. He said, what did you do exactly? He said, well, I saw this man saying, curse Abu Turab, so I held him from his neck and I smashed his head into the pole. Hisham bin Abdul Malik said, and why did you do that? He said, if someone cursed your cousin now, O King Hisham, I would attack them, let alone a man who curses the husband of Fatima al-Zahra, and a man who curses the son-in-law of Rasulullah. How can I sit while they curse him on the minbar? Hisham said, listen, Abu Abdul Rahman, you're an old man now, take your pension and leave quickly. In other words, what? In other words, stay quiet, get out. Get out, I don't want people like you around me, because they wake people up to the reality of Ali ibn Abi Talib. In other words, what do we find in history? We find this man was going to Sham within 100 years of Rasulullah, and there are people cursing Ali ibn Abi Talib. I'm the one who disrespects the Sahaba. The one who disrespects the Sahaba is the one who's willing to curse Amir al-Mu'mineen from the pulpits. And that's why you found that many of the Sahaba who surrounded Imam Ali on a night like this, the night of the 20th of Ramadan, many of them were those who stood up fighting against the cursing of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because on a night like this, Imam Ali was on his bed in his house in the land of Kufa, and those Sahaba who were loyal to him, who loved him, who respected him, many of them had come towards staying with him on a night like this. He was their master at the end of the day, their Mawla. They could not bear to be away from him. Who were they? You found people like Habib ibn Amr, who used to say that I could hear the ladies and the daughters of Fatima al-Zahra crying in the house, and the tears were getting to me one after the other. Who were they? Sa'sa' bin Sawhan, one of the greatest companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Who were they? Hujr bin Adi al-Kindi, one of the companions who lost his life out of his love for Amir al-Mu'mineen. Who else were they? Amr bin Hamaq al-Khuza'i, one of the greatest companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Who were they? Asbagh ibn Nubata, another of the great companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imagine you had Asbagh and Hujr bin Adi and Amr bin Hamaq al-Khuza'i. All of them were at the house of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib that night. They were surrounding his body. They could see how much the Imam was in pain, because Ibn Muljam had struck him in the same place which Amr ibn Awid had struck him on the day of Khandaq. So the narrations, what do they say to us? Imam Hassan was there, all of them were there. They were crying by the body of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. They couldn't bear to think of a world where the Imam wasn't present. One by one, the Imam was consoling them. He was telling them, do not worry, remain calm, remain patient. And he then said to Imam al-Hassan, he said, tell them all, they can all leave now. And they began to leave one after another. Hujr bin Adi left, Amr bin Hamaq left, Sa'sa' bin Sawhan left, Habib bin Amr left. Then Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was lying on the bed, he heard a noise from outside. He turned around to Imam al-Hassan, he said, I hear someone crying outside. Who is the one who's crying? The reply was, Imam al-Hassan said, I'll go and see. Imam went out, he came back in, he said, all of your companions have left except al-Asbagh ibn Nubata. Imam Ali said, why? Tell him to leave. He looked at him, Imam al-Hassan said, and he looked at him in that moment and he said, the man said, I do not want to leave my master Ali ibn Abi Talib. I want to remain behind. This moment Imam Ali said to Imam al-Hassan, tell him to come inside. When al-Asbagh began to walk towards Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, he began to walk towards the Imam said to him, al-Asbagh, come and sit next to me. Oh al-Asbagh, do not cry. In a moment I'll meet Rasulullah and I'll meet Fatima al-Zahra. Oh al-Asbagh, do not cry. In a moment I will go back towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The reply of al-Asbagh truly breaks the heart of every Shia. He said to him, oh my master Amir al-Mu'mineen, I do not cry because I know that you're returning back to your Lord. Rather I cry because I ask myself, how can I live in a world without Ali ibn Abi Talib being around me? How can I live in a world without my master being next to me? How can I live in a world where in the morning I do not hear your voice leading the prayers? You know, the narration mentions that he calmed al-Asbagh down and al-Asbagh left. When al-Asbagh left, something quite beautiful happened. Imam al-Hassan came near Imam Ali, Imam al-Hussein came near, the daughters Zainab and Kulthum came. When Imam al-Hassan came, and this narration came from the mouth of Sayyid Ali al-Khamenei, this a couple of years ago, he narrated it quite beautifully. Ali. The narration mentions that when Imam al-Hassan came, Imam Amir al-Mu'min looked at him, he saw him crying and crying. He said to him, Hassan, my son, calm down, do not worry, do not cry this much. When Imam al-Hussein came, he looked at him, he said, Hussein, Hussein, calm down, do not cry this much. Whereas when he saw Zainab and Kulthum, he began to cry with the two of them. He began to cry alongside them. It's as if he couldn't bear to see his daughters crying. I say to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, if you couldn't bear to see them cry on that night, then what would you have done when you see them running from tent to tent on the 10th of Muharram? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to raise us with Muhammad and Al Muhammad, to allow us to be amongst the companions of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam. Allow us to be amongst his soldiers and those who follow his message. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to perform the ziyarah of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen in the land of Najaf. Allow us to rub our cheeks across the grave of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Allow us the ziyarah of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein and the ziyarah of Imam al-Hassan in the land of Baqi', where he sits there alone with no one to protect him. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all our Muslim brothers around the world, especially our brothers in Bahrain, our brothers in Syria, our brothers in Burma, our brothers in Pakistan and in India, and our brothers in Iraq. Ya Allah, protect them and unite them on the message of Muhammad and Al Muhammad. For all our brothers who are here today, Ya Allah, allow them to receive the intercession of Muhammad and Al Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it the loudest of your salawat.